All right, gang, here we are. Let's talk about this final chapter, chapter 12, managing system support and security. Now, one of the things we need to do is, let's say we've already implemented this system. We need to look back on what we did, what worked, what didn't work, make sure that it's secure, it's reliable, and being maintained to ensure that it delivers consistent performance. Okay. Now, this is, in many terms, we look at it as a retrospective phase, looking back on what took place. Now, user training took place when we deployed it. As we deployed it, we had to train the users on how to do it, how to use it. How'd that work? What worked? What didn't work? We need to have the support in place should they not be as equipped as we thought they were going to be, having gone through the training. We may have to retrain them if need be. And that's feedback is critical when it comes to this. So we need to go back and look and see what were our objectives. Did we meet them? How effective were we in our objectives that we set out to achieve? Now, some of the issues that may exist, we may outsource call centers for support. Now, it addresses wait times, but at the same time, there could be language barriers or cultural issues. Now, I remember one time I called the help desk to get support when it came to a product, and they said, well, do you have proof that you purchased it? I said, no, I don't have a receipt. And they said, well, just go back to the store and tell them to print you one. And I said, I paid cash. And the customer service rep could not understand the fact that that's not something that is a norm. You can't walk into a Target and say, hey, I bought something cash last week. Can you give me a receipt for it? That's not going to happen. But the fact that it was offshored, they didn't understand culturally that that was not an option. Okay. So we've got expenses, we've got standard operational costs, and then we've got maintenance expenses. And depending on the system itself, maintenance may be fairly inexpensive, or it may not. There could be a hardware or software issue that goes along with it that causes that increased expense. Okay. So we've got different types of maintenance, when it takes place, and the probability that it's going to happen. Okay. Let's move through. Now, the things we've had to do is, this may not be the only time we're going to do this kind of solution. We may have to implement the same kind of solution for somebody else. Let's make sure, set some baselines and make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. We'll test over time to see if we are adhering to the expectations. And see, as I said before, what worked and what didn't work. Okay. We can check the performance of a system, see how the system's performing with different reports, and one of the things we talked about before was scalability. And if there is a need to scale this out, how effective was the scalability? Now, there was something that we had to take into effect early on. We defined the scope of this project, and we in the initial phase, we said we wanted everything documented in that request. Now, as long as everything is clearly documented and all the numbers are there, we need 10 of these, It needs to go for 6 months. We have $1.2 million, whatever it is. The data is documented. The expectations are documented. And it doesn't creep beyond that initial request. So there are some case tools to help us with system maintenance. We need to look back and make sure the system is as secure as we planned, that it's reliable, available, confidentiality exists, and the data has high integrity and reliability. Okay. We want to reduce risk over time. The more reliable the input from the user, the more reliable the output, and the more reliable the system as a whole. Okay. There's different things, threats to the system. We need to be cautious about who we allow access to the system, whether it's an employee, cyber terrorist. There's different perceptions on the types of attacks, the threats that they are or present to our system. There's different types of attacks that they can make, and it's not something they really think about early on. We do think about it while we're developing the solution, but we need to make sure that it's working the way that it's supposed to once we've rolled this thing out. Okay, there's more kinds of attacks, and they just keep going. There's always somebody trying to get into our systems. Why? Because data equals money. Okay? And for some people, it's just to prove that they can do it. Now, system security involves 6 separated but interrelated levels. There's a physical security, network security, application security, file security, procedural security, and user security. Now, the system is only as strong as its weakest component. Now, this graphic shows a chain. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Now, if there's an issue in the user security level, there's an issue in security as a whole. And the entire system runs the risk of being compromised. So we need to be aware of this and know that all 6 are interrelated. Okay. Okay. Now, one of the things we see a lot lately is two-form authentication, where not only are you entering your password, but you also have to have some secondary form of authentication to prove you are who you are. That's one more way to create user level security or enhance it. Okay, we've got to make sure the system's being backed up, that we're increasing reliability should an issue occur. When the system becomes obsolete, there's always the option of it becoming obsolete. Let's say that the system we created utilizes Windows Server 2012. And now we're using Windows Server 2016. That organization is going to want to migrate to the newest software platform. It may not be as simple as just updating. So what that would require is a new project and developing a new solution that it involves the most up-to-date or current software solution. Okay. So we can look at future challenges and opportunities associated with this project or this solution. There's a number of different places we can look. So that's the last chapter. As I said, this can be the most critical or vital phase of all of them, because now we're looking back to see, did we do what we're supposed to do? What worked? What didn't work? And this is where we actually learn from our mistakes and learn from the endeavors that we've gone through. What happened? Okay. So I appreciate your time. If you've got questions preparing for the final, let me know before you get to it. Don't reach out the day of the final and say, I'm confused about this. Ask questions early and often. I've been saying it all along. Then glad you've been in the class. I may see you in another class.